Good morning, David. It's tax day,
Oh, that's right.
April 15, 2026.
You're right. Well, I think I'm in good shape there. I hope.
Yeah, well, we're talking about relationships, and I think still in good relationship. They accepted my money and they received my forms. So that's good to know.
That's progress, huh?
I did my part.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed the teachings you've been teaching over the last few weeks at heartlightcharlotte.org, which is available to everybody on the various levels of relationships, star mates, soulmates, and twin flames. But we've talked earlier this morning before we went live about the idea of a relationship with ourself and others and the universe as we understand it is always process. It's only an illusion that we've arrived somewhere, and at some point, that continues. It changes.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, that's a subject that I've given a lot of thought to along my spiritual path. And it really was activated in me by reading a quote of a question that said, "What is man that
What?
Creator is mindful of man?" And I thought, and it never answered it.
Hmm.
So I've come to the conclusion when questions are asked like that, it is for us to find the answers in ourselves and not be told the answer.
Okay.
That's a method of teaching called hinting, hinting towards something, but not the something you got to come to the something by the hinting that leads
Okay.
you there.
Yeah.
That's an old Eastern mystical teaching that probably Yeshua, Jesus used was the hinting method. That's why he told stories all the time because he was hinting towards something deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not been embraced by literal religionists who take the Bible just literally and ignore the whole thing that their Bible tells them the letter killeth, but the Spirit
Yes.
gives us life.
Yes.
That's what we've been trying to do here at the Academy and at Heartlight is to activate that what the inner story carries, what the parable carries, what the idea. So I just read a quote this morning that I put me on this path of wanting to talk about today, and it is a quote that says, "The self is not a thing; it's a process."
Okay.
Now that's just a thought for contemplation. I think there's something deep there when we think about really two aspects of self. The self we truly are, and we could call that the spiritual self if a person is on a spiritual path and understand that we are much more than our bodies, we are much more what we see through our five senses, that we do have a spiritual or energetic part of ourself that is available. And that is what being spiritual is. It's connecting to that part of ourselves rather than connecting to a religion. That's
Yes.
religion. Religion connects you to its dogma, doctrines, and takes you
Right.
outside yourself. Spirituality brings you inside yourself, where that you find an identity that is through faith. It's not believing, but it is through faith and knowing and gnosis that you can experience that self. And I believe that. And I believe there's people that has experienced that experience that have begun people that we well contribute to our spiritual paths when we read their books hundreds of years after they've lived and so on and so forth. And I do think these people are the ones that actually dove deep into opening up the spiritual as, applications of these literal things. So that's the path we all want to find. But actually, there's two aspects of self, and if I can go by the rule of something we call A Course in Miracles, two opposites cannot exist as on the same level of reality. One is real, one is not real. So that's
Yes. They
why they
repel.
teach love is real, but the absence of that is fear, which is not real. And I kind of like that idea. I lean toward that idea uh, uh, in that way. So there is a part of self that is real, and there's a part of self that is not real, if we're going to go by that kind of
Okay.
school of thought. So the self that is real, of course, is what we call the essence of ourself, what we call the core of our being. not our doing or becoming, but our being. And
Okay.
we believe that that's where it all started with something we're calling creator, is that it woke up to itself and it wanted to know itself, but it had nothing to know itself through.
Yeah.
I know we who have children learn a lot about ourselves through our children because they so reflect our own genetic material and behavior and whatever. And I've learned things about myself through my child, through my daughter, that only was mirrored back to me. And I think that's what the divine was looking for. Give me something to reflect me. I'll be
Yeah.
the being, you be the response to the being. And through that
Okay.
response, I can manifest myself. So there's that. Then when we go into Freudism and go into a more psychological Gestalt kind of idea of self, we start realizing it's something the brain builds. There's nothing
It,
to it, but it builds on bricks of outside perceptions, the
okay.
bricks of religion, the bricks of school and
It's
education and
societal
cultural,
law.
racial identity. All of that is building with no foundation. And, we're taught you don't want to do that because when the storms start coming in your life, it won't hold it up because there's no foundation, because you're building on sifting sand, so to speak.
Shifting
But
sand.
it
Yeah.
said if you're really building on the rock, the rock, and that word rock's kind of interesting, but I traced it back to being as a cradle rocks back and forth. So I said, well, this is a vibration. So upon the vibration of our being, which we refer to as the true I am that we
Yes.
are, yeah. So we have a pseudo self, let's call it. That's what religion told me I was. I was not, I don't think I'd ever been innately born to believe I was a sinner. I had to be told I was a sinner. I had to be taught I was a sinner. It's a brain part of my intellect
Yes, it
is
is.
that was taught. Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? So therefore, I started building myself. Okay, I'm born a sinner. I got to appease God. My flesh is dirty. All the things that goes along, all the baggage that goes along with that teaching, I started piling on myself to become that self that they told me to become. In other words, I
Yeah.
was I was made in their image and likeness,
Yeah.
and
Right.
I
And our
left the true image of myself and likeness. Right?
and all of that construct is really the illusion that we've bought into.
It is the illusion, and I try to get people to realize don't confuse illusion with delusion.
Okay.
Illusion is something's there, but I'm not seeing it for what it is. I'm making it into something else by perception. But actually, delusion is seeing something that isn't there. It is using the cognitive part of the brain to come up with things that have no source in reality whatsoever.
So, in dropping this illusion, are there processes available to begin to deconstruct the illusion so that we wake up more to our true self?
Good question, because again, back to the quote, it says it's a process. So
Okay.
there is, I think everybody's looking for that exact moment in time in which they're going to go, aha, I'm awake. No, that experience will be because of the process that people has followed. And that's something we want to do at the Academy, is we
Yeah.
want to offer people and help them in the process that they're going through of awakening, because there's stages to awakening before we really experience the full illumination of the higher mind and the higher truth in that way. So yes, I think there's so many things now. If people are open and start using technology for a way of assisting them to
Right.
find things they did not know was out there. But I mean, whether it's moving into energy work or vibration work, sound work, these seem to be the
Yeah.
things that are really popping up all over the internet, is people
Yeah.
that are doing this work. And there's a reason for that, because the call has gone out to the light workers to step up and to take their place. So yes, I mean, meditation, bowls, tuning forks, using energy through the hands. There's so many different things that's out there for people to use as a tool to move them to that place, to
Yeah.
dismantle the false self, and their waiting will be the true self.
Yes. And at the Academy, which people can get a sample of it, David Hulse, that's David Hulse, They can pull a sample of the Academy and what we have available. And the Academy's material is set up to meet you where you are on your journey. And it'll take you gently, without a lot of confrontation, but a measure of confrontation that's just enough to challenge you in beginning to question.
Mm,
Okay. Begin, question, and then learning, as you often say, to come to that neutral place as you're in your research with what you find, so that you can begin opening up to your true self, your manifestation and connection to the divine as you would prefer it to be, rather than what you've been told it should be.
right. So true. Wow. Well,
So
this is a
it's
great
a great
conversation
conversation.
today. Yeah.
We're on the same wavelength. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're ending already. We're at our 9 minute mark, but this continues each and every week at 11, or excuse me, at 9:30 a.m. Central Time here, in the United States. People can join us here on YouTube. So,
That's Eastern time. Yeah. Eastern time.
Eastern Time. What did I say?
Central time.
Oh, did I? Okay. Well, we are in Eastern Time, so 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's nice to be with you each and every week, and what a great conversation.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.